If you're anything like me, you have a jam-packed schedule. Thankfully, I know I can count on T-Mobile to help keep me connected on the go. T-Mobile is America's largest 5G network, bigger than Verizon and AT&T's combined. And now with T-Mobile's best Go 5G plans, get the freedom to upgrade your phone when you want, every year or every two. You decide. Take charge of your phone upgrades with T-Mobile. Get the latest phones and awesome network. Visit your neighborhood store or T-Mobile.com to make the switch. Get 2 years financing on Go 5G Plus and Next. 1 year upgrade at Go 5G Next requires financing new qualifying device and upgrading in good condition after 6+ months with 50% paid off. Upgrade ends financing and any promo credits. See T-Mobile.com.
Guess who's back? Back again. Worm is back. Tell a friend. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Sunday night recap show for Week 3. I am Ryan Wormley, filling in for Scott Bogman tonight, and I am joined. I guess I'm kind of filling in for Welsh as well, because I'm sitting in the host chair, while Welsh gets to be the analyst tonight. But we are here to recap Week 3. I am joined, of course, by Chris Welsh. Welsh, we often talk baseball. We don't talk as much football together, so I'm excited to be on the show. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm very excited to see you. I'm very excited to present my puns, my pun headlines. Bogman puts his together every week, but I am way more dad jokey. It was a wild week, kind of rough on the bets. Survivor pools, there's a whole lot to talk about. And unfortunately, some injuries, and that's why we have the great Deepak Chonan with us.
Yes, very excited to talk to you, Deepak, as well. Of course, we chatted every week last year. I'm not on this show this year, so it's great to get to talk with you again this week. Anecdotally, while watching, maybe it's because there wasn't really anything in the afternoon games, it didn't feel like there was that many significant injuries. Of course, there's always some. It is the NFL. We will definitely get to those. To your point, Welsh, brutal week for Survivor pools. I mean, there were so many upsets. It was just insane how many people probably went out in their pools this week.
Hand up. Here's my first pun of the night. It was Survivor dead pools, because I'm in a big league, gone. I had a in this league one, gone. And looking and scouring, I do this one big league I've told you about. It's like an industry, like 5 elements, and half of the Survivor is gone because there were only 3 teams picked in this Survivor pool by everybody, all the industry people. It was Jacksonville, Kansas City, and Dallas, and me and Bogman are unfortunately one of the crew that went down with it. It was a wild week, man. It was weird stuff, and we're going to be breaking it all down.
Yes, we will dive right in. As always, a lot to get to, so let's just get right into the injuries here. Derek Carr exited his game early with a shoulder injury. They thought it might have actually been a little more serious than that. Reports after the game, he had gone to the hospital. Reports after the game, it's not quite that serious. It's not season-ending or anything like that. Mike Williams exited his game early with a knee injury. Gus Edwards had to come out late in the Ravens loss because it was in concussion protocol. We have Nick Chubb up there because obviously this happened back in Week 2. There was an update late in the week, though, that the knee injury maybe not quite so bad as we thought when we all watched that live on Monday Night Football, so we want to get Deepak's opinion on that, too. And then Justin Jefferson did leave his game very briefly. He did come back. It was a little scary at first with him on the ground, but it appeared to kind of just be cramps. So, Deepak, what was your main takeaway from the injuries today?
Yeah, I think the big one was probably Derek Carr there, and he went down pretty hard on that shoulder. The comments and the video together suggest a moderate AC or SC sprain, basically the joints up here that you land on really hard. And the key is that this is a throwing side for a quarterback. So the average on these is about 2 to 3 weeks, but we expect it to be a little bit on the longer side, probably, if I had to guess, say 3 for now with Derek Carr. Certainly a multi-week absence given his position. And then if you look at Mike Williams, he had his foot planted, had that rotation. That's really concerning for an ACL. Best case scenario there is still a knee sprain, like an MCL bone bruise type picture, which would be about 2 to 4 weeks. But I think more likely, unfortunately, we may be looking at a ACL for Mike Williams that'll go down with the MRI tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tough. Welsh, I want to get your opinion on Carr, just because there are some really nice fantasy assets in the Saints offense. Chris Olave, very talented young receiver. We're getting Alvin Kamara back next week. So how significantly does this impact the Saints offense as a whole if Jameis Winston is going to be starting games for the next several weeks?
I'm not sure it's like a crazy downgrade. Winston came in, was 10 for 16. He looked rusty, but that's also, just sitting on the pine, not running with the ones the entire time. But at the same time, like, we know Winston can move the ball down the field deep. And what is Chris Olave's best asset? It is being able to go really deep while also being able to move across the field. I'm just not sure we're missing too much. Through the first 2 weeks, Carr was a middle-tier QB1 in week 1, scored 7 fantasy points at the quarterback position in week 2. On average, he is outside the easy top 15 of quarterbacks. So is Winston that bad of a interchange? I'm not really so sure. Plus, you get Kamara coming back next week, which maybe spreads defenses out a little bit for a couple wide receivers that can go deep. Mike Williams can move across the middle of the field. I'd actually say similar in that you didn't downgrade, or maybe some of you did, but you didn't downgrade Anthony Richardson being out with Minshew coming in. You didn't really downgrade. Pittman looked phenomenal today with Minshew. I kind of think it could be similar in that Winston's going to be able to move the ball. They've got Kamara back, which is going to be a real big positive for that offense. And, everyone was all over Kendra Miller. He was fine. But I think we'll be okay for the other assets. I'm not sure it makes Winston a startable QB. In the 2-quarterback league, he's definitely going to be viable and someone you're probably going to have to pay attention to on waivers. Because Deepak, what did you say? This is going to be probably a multi-week thing for Carr. What would you guesstimate, like 2 to 4?
Yeah, 2 to 4 would be a good estimate for starters. It's hard to say, but yeah, my guess would be 3 if I had to pick one number.
Yeah, and in a super flex, we know, if you can buy and spend a little bit of fab to get a quarterback even for 3 weeks, that's an upgrade. If you were an idiot like me who sometimes has to put out Dobbs or Zach Wilson, you might want to make that pay. I'm not going to downgrade any of the Saints options.
Very quickly, Welsh, any waiver wire wide receivers on the Chargers with the Mike Williams news?
Josh Palmer looks, I think he always looks great. He looked great in the preseason. He caught a touchdown in this one. I mean, this is Keenan Allen's team. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit, but I do think with how they throw the ball and how ineffective Josh Kelly, I can't even believe I talked myself into it. We got to be done with that, and they just have to throw the ball. Palmer, I think, does move into like wide receiver 3 territory if Mike Williams does miss time.
Herbert was awesome today, so I want them to throw the ball even if Josh Kelly was good. I would want them to throw the ball. Deepak, any concern about Gus Edwards playing next week with that concussion?
If he's got a concussion, 2/3 of players in the modern protocol would end up missing next week and return most likely the following, actually.
And then I just want to get your opinion on Nick Chubb, Deepak. We got the Adam Schefter report later this week. Again, when everybody watched it live, our first thought for a lot of people was, myself included, this might be career-altering. It looked that bad. This news seems to be more positive, though. It's a little more optimistic about his return for next year, right, Deepak?
Yeah, I think in either case, basically what they're saying is the MCL is torn and then the ACL is partially torn. And the key is really what happens with that ACL. When you put him to sleep, you'll examine the knee, you'll really see how loose or unstable it is. And if it is loose, then at that point you would probably just treat it as if it's almost like a full tear and you do the reconstruction. That would put his timeline around 9 months roughly for a return. So even in that case, which is basically the worst case, that would still give him an excellent shot for week 1. You would see usually a performance dip initially for about the first half of the next year, but beyond that, he should be able to return pretty much to where he was before this injury occurred.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's just awesome news. It's crazy that it's awesome news to hear that a guy has a torn MCL and partially torn ACL, but given what we thought it could have been, it really is.
Yeah, not everybody's reaction was like super calm. Mine was like, bleh! Like they don't do any of those things well. Like they're like, we're not going to re-show this replay, and I'm like, good, let's delete it from
when
the
broadcast team immediately says we are not showing this replay, it's not a good sign. And then lastly, before we let you go, Deepak, just quickly, both quarterbacks in the Bears-Chiefs game left. Fields looked kind of bad. I mean, DJ Moore had to call to the sideline and be like, get this guy off the field.
Starting route to 5506 West Warren Avenue.
Something happened, got punched in the head. And then Mahomes had kind of the ankle roll up. Both guys came back in after their respective injuries. Is there any long-term?
At the stop sign, turn right. In 1.8 miles, turn right onto Southfield Freeway, frontage road.
For either of those guys?
Yeah, I think the question with Mahomes, he could clearly play through it. Low ankles usually don't affect quarterbacks that greatly. The only issue would be if he took another weird twist or fall on it, and that nobody can totally predict, but that would be a little bit of a re-injury risk there. And then with Fields, he certainly looked like he had some sort of head injury, so we have seen players sort of retroactively enter the concussion protocol in recent years, but it's hard to say what's going to happen here. If he does enter concussion protocol, again, 2/3 chance he misses 1 week and returns the following.
Maybe I'm overreacting, but like that seemed like old school football to me. Like he looked like he got knocked into not knowing where he was, who he was, what planet he was. He's like, am I a quarterback? And they're like, no, not really, but you kind of are. You're behind the center. And then like they put him back in. I wouldn't be surprised if something comes back out because it looked like he got knocked stupid. He came back in the game, and that was really surprising.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, you don't see that as much anymore.
No.
He is Dr. Deepak Chona. We will say goodbye to him for this week. Deepak, good to talk to you again. Thank you for joining us as always, and we'll see you again for week 4.
All right.
Well, you talked a big game about these headlines, so let's jump right in.
Oh God, they're going to be awful. They're going to be. Who was that pretty voice we just had there, too? That voice sounded so familiar.
Yeah, it does sound really. I guess it's different when I'm actually hosting the show. I get to toss to myself there for a second.
You're like, hey, it's Worm. We're going to go to Worm. All right, so here are my headlines.
In 1 mile, turn right onto Southfield Freeway frontage road.
At quarterback, Field of bad dreams. Justin Field outside of the concussion. Hope he's okay, but not good. 11 of 22, 99 passing yards. He has now thrown a pick in every single game, and he got like a good cheap bit of it at the very end of the game with DJ Moore. DJ Moore like 1 catch going into the 4th quarter when they were down by more than 40. Fields looked awful. He could not do anything. The Chiefs' defense is way better than I think a lot of us thought, but we are now in a space where Fields has finished 15 at quarterback in week 1, 20 in week 2, and God knows wherever it is going to finish out when everything is said and done. I'm going to guess it's going to be around close 20. So that is 3 straight weeks. A quarterback that people were selling as a top 5 quarterback is not going to be able to finish remotely close to a QB1. We're 100% in bench territory and finding any other option. Brock Purdy is a better option. Hey, legit, James Winston might be a better option at this point. You can't start him until something changed, and nothing has changed. So it's a pretty bad dream work.
Is there a path to him figuring this out? I mean, last year he started off really slowly, then he came on when they let him run more. He ran a little more today, and it just didn't matter.
Yeah, the path is like what they set up, where first off he blames everybody, and then he's like, no, it's me, it's solely me, and then we're all like, oh, he's gonna run, he's gonna.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn right onto Southfield Freeway frontage road.
And
turn right.
Funny enough, I think his rushing prop was in the 50s, or I know Lamar's was in the 60s. Yeah.
Use the left lane to keep left to merge onto Southfield Freeway.
Today, but he had nothing going. So the path, is being able to hit your receivers.
Keep left.
That, and that offense has got nothing. I mean, DJ Moore made some mistakes in this game. I just think this offense is worn down. I think they're beat down.
In 3/4 of a mile, take exit 11A to merge onto I-96 toward downtown Detroit.
Need a scheme change. So there's a path, but I don't see it. I don't know.
Stay in the second lane from right.
All right, headline number 2. We're actually going to go to the wide receivers. This is a tough one. Keenan and peeling off PPR points. You like that one? No, that was a pretty lame one. I'm sorry, it's pretty lame.
I'm on board with that one.
Okay, Keenan and peeling off PPR points. Keenan Allen was a monster today. 20 targets, caught 18 for 215. And as a reminder, he is that offense still. He is still that guy. Like, I argue with Bogman on a week in and week out basis about Keenan Allen. He's like, I don't want any part of him. And you saw the target share. Now, unfortunately, we're probably going to be without Mike Williams for some bit. Austin Eckler out. what does this offense do? They sling the ball, and they sling it to Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen is still able to find that separation. He's just a double-digit target monster every single week. And there was a couple really good wide receiver performances here, but I think this is a good reminder that this team right now, because I don't see any great sign of Austin Eckler coming back, especially with his own comments and the team's comments. He's not coming back.
Use the right lane to take exit 11A to merge onto I-96 toward downtown Detroit.
Week, or probably the next week, this team can't run the ball. They've got to throw the ball, and they're now down one of their big dynamic wide receivers. This is going to be the Keenan Allen show. Maybe the yards aren't always going to be there. They sure were in this game because it was against the Minnesota Vikings. So find really good matchups where you can. Keenan Allen is rocking. You think Keenan Allen is a wide receiver one rest of the season?
Yes, I do. I mean, especially if you're in PPR, but I think you...
Take the exit, then keep left to merge onto I-96 East toward downtown Detroit.
Not. I would say he has to be.
All right, this is my biggest reach because I really struggled with it.
Use the left lane to keep left to merge onto I-96 East toward downtown Detroit.
And now oh, there might be a better one. Okay, so here's the first line for tight end.
Keep left.
Laporta a day keeps the losses away. Like, it's more like a Laporta. Maybe it's Son of Sam. Son of Sam might be a little bit better, but Sam Laporta's really good. This is my worst headline of them. Sam Laporta, 11 targets.
Use the left lane to keep left to merge onto I-96 toward Davison Avenue.
8 catches, 84 yards, score. Jared Goff loves him. His target share increased.
Keep left.
Every single week. And he has continuously not been in the upper echelon of tight ends, but he's going to need to be moving forward. I have kept him there. First week was kind of understandably. Then it went up to 6 points. This week he's going to be one of the top scoring guys. And for perspective, last week only 3 tight ends. What am I on? Am I on standard here? Let me go to half PPR so I'm giving this properly.
In 5.6 miles, take exit 189 toward West Grand Boulevard and Tyreman Avenue.
The incorrect ones. Last week we had only 5 tight ends score double-digit points. 2 of them scoring 10, and Laporta beat that, and in the previous week it was actually 8.8 points. Sam Laporta is on a high rise, and I think easy top 10 tight end moving forward, like bar none. Like you have to rank him there. It's over Kincaid. It's over Njoku. It's over a lot of these.
He's breaking the rules we have for rookie tight ends.
Ryan Burr sent an image. Said monolithic curve is only going to be linear feet. So in your pick here, it should have been 7 by 4 SW6 with 7 feet monolithic curve. And makes sense. Would you like to reply? Okay.
He's great. Who would you rather have rest of the season? Sam Laporta or Darren Waller?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't want to be like recency bias. It sure looks like Laporta.
It's Laporta. Sorry, Debro. It's Laporta.
Debro loves both of them, so.
No, he does, but just Darren Waller. So maybe we can argue about that later in the week. But it is going to be Sam Laporta. So those are my 3 before we get to.
Here's to what's next. Miller Lite headline of the day is
Raheem Most touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, 142 yards. He caught it, he ran it, he scored it, but he didn't even score the most points in the backfield. That would be Devin A. Chain, who was a monster, but Raheem Mostert continues to show these flashes. This offense is wild with the points they score. I mean, they could beat some NBA teams with the points they put up today. And the interesting thing, though, is going to be how do you manage this Miami backfield moving forward? Because A-Chain looked good. Mostert looked good. Is this going to be a 1-2 punch the whole season, and then they're going to throw Jeff Wilson in and screw it all up? Will one of these guys push forward? or are they both the biggest sells of all time? I think that's something that we can kind of argue and talk about when we get through the rest of the week, and I know the entire Fantasy Pros crew will be. I would say that Mostert is a big sell for me right now. This is an awesome performance because I think A-Chain is on the way up, but what say you, Worm? What do you think?
The biggest reason that Mostert would be a sell for me is just the health. We never ever see him last through an entire season. If you guaranteed me health, if you said Raheem Mostert is going to play all 17 games this season, I probably wouldn't sell him. Now, to a degree, anybody coming off a 4-touchdown game is a sell because you probably can get somebody really good for them. So, yeah, sure, like in a vacuum, even if you told me he was going to be healthy, if I could go get a guy that I'm confident is an RB1 this season, I probably would still do that. But to me, the bigger question is not, is A-Chain.
In 2 miles, take exit 189 toward West Grand Boulevard and Tireman Avenue.
Backfield, because we have evidence from today that they can both absolutely thrive. I'm assuming you just picked Mostert as your headline, by the way, instead of A-Chain, just because you had a better pun for it.
I think, the A-Chain one was a little bit more struggling, but I actually also did it because I wanted to talk about both of them. The most touchdowns was in there. This will be interesting, though, because one thing I'll point out, and I know there's always going to be the guy in the chat, that I'm not looking at it, but they'll be like, what can you get for him? What can you actually, you're going to trade him? There's always those person. It's like, sure, but people are going to pay attention to that high-flying offense. If you look at snap counts.
At the light, turn right onto Livernois Avenue.
Mostert had 63% of snaps.
In 1.6 miles, turn left onto West Warren Avenue.
6 of 8 on 3rd and 4th down, while A-Chain 47%, 8 of 10 inside the top 10. That's according to Dave Richard from CBS. Both very interesting numbers, and maybe both of them can end up thriving in what is a crazy big offense. But we also know, this was without Waddle. They're also not going to score 70 points every single week. But, what side do you take? You take high...
You score 70 points every week?
Hey, maybe. You never know. That's why we like these guys. But, do you take high snap percentages with 3rd downs, or are you going to take those goal lines? A-Chain is going to be, I think, a RB3 moving forward until he proves otherwise, but they're both going to be in the same way. I actually think it's going to be fascinating who's ranked higher next week, because A-Chain had 18 more carries than Mostert.
Turn right onto Stopel Avenue, then turn right onto Dover Street.
But the snap percentage went to Mostert, so it'll be a fun debate.
Turn left onto Burnett Avenue, then turn left onto Van Buren Street.
I will be really curious to see that as well. With a Miller Lite in your hand, fall doesn't just taste great, it tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/fantasypros. That's MillerLite.com/fantasypros, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Anybody who was facing one of those two running backs could sure use a Miller Lite. Tonight, I could use one after that Ravens game, but we'll get to that one.
Oh, I just want to point out, too, I have a lineup. It's so brutal to look at, where under my flex was Jackson Smith and Jigba, and under it, on the bench, the top bench, Devin A-Chain, who scored 51 points in a league. But I did have A-Chain in a best ball today, and that was monstrous. So that's the only place, because every human being out here, we all didn't start him. We all didn't reap the benefits.
I think Yahoo said, I saw them tweet that only 2% of people started him in that, which is honestly even lower than I expected, but I expected it to be quite low.
I'm in the 98%, all of you as well.
Yes, as most people watching are. Let's get into the entire slate. We'll go through every game and recap standout players, stat lines, all that fun stuff. We will start with Chargers 28, Vikings 24. Fancy takeaway, go off Keenan Allen. We talked about him already, but just 18 catches, 215 yards, a whopping 20 targets. Justin Herbert was on point in this game, and a lot of that was going to Keenan Allen. Also, threw for a touchdown. So he was incredible. Like you already said, a couple other notes here, Josh Kelly could not do anything in this one. Another week where he struggled big time. We already talked about Mike Williams getting banged up a bit. On the other side, quickly, too, Alexander Mattison, we kind of talked a bit during the week about Cam Akers is in town, but he's not going to play. This is sort of your last chance to hold on to the job. He didn't do a great job of holding on to the ball, but he kind of was okay. 20 carries, 93 yards, 5 catches as well. I mean, he's kind of seems like just a guy. What was your takeaway from Madison?
I think it's Jag. I think he is just a guy, because I think this is done. That fumble, bad. The drop, bad. You could just hear Cam Akers. Like it was like the rise of the Empire, just the drums in the background coming for him, like, or Thrawn, if you guys watched the most recent Ahsoka, just it's coming in. Like you can feel that happening with Cam Akers. Madison's not that great. Like great that he had 20 carries and 93 yards versus the Chargers. That's fantastic. But I'm not a buy on him. I'm also not I think Josh Kelly looked atrocious. And this has just got to be done. I mean, we are in a very big cut territory, and then, of course, he's going to go off. Because that's the problem. Is, like, who's going to start him next week? No one's going to start. You can't start him after, like, we've all been like, oh, no, this is the time. No. It's not the time. The last little takeaway I thought was fascinating was how Jordan Addison was able to make the day in the second half. He got nothing in the first half. Cousins didn't even look his way. And then all of a sudden, it was like 2 drives in the late third, early fourth quarter where Addison was able to hit his wide receiver prop, which I hit that, and he almost caught that touchdown that was tipped. It would have been love to see him get that, but I think Osborne's got to go. We need to see more Addison, and I hope we continue to see that more than just like the second half moving forward.
Addison's a good player. Touchdowns each of the first 2 weeks, kind of making up here in the second half today. I want them to give him a lot more work. Very quickly before we move on to this game, should TJ Hawkinson be tight end 2 going forward? Obviously he's got to be ahead of Kelsey, but has he surpassed Mark Andrews?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Mark Andrews was held to 4 catches in this game. Kittle just had the huge breakout game, but he's kind of wildly inconsistent. The Vikings throw the ball like almost more than anybody. So yeah, I think Hawkinson is kind of like locked into number 2 until it's proven otherwise.
The Vikings are in Carolina next week, and then the Chargers will host the Raiders. Let's go to a shellacking in D.C. The Bills 37, Commanders just 3. Sam Howell was terrible. He's been better than some people expected to start the year. Absolutely awful today. 19 of 29, 170 yards, 4 picks, and just 1 rush for 18 yards.
Yeah, I've been saying it on streams. I know people get picky about it, but like Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, they're the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Like maybe Sam Howell, like he had a really good comeback, and I'm being dramatic about it. Desmond Ridder's the worst quarterback easy in the NFL. But Sam Howell's just not that great. He makes some awesome plays with his legs. He absolutely kept multiple drives alive with his legs. But it's not great. Buffalo's a tough team to play as well. So I think Jahan Dotson is almost a cut at this point. It's like a 3rd straight week where it's just not happening with Dotson. Sam Howell doesn't look at him enough. McLaurin wasn't able to get enough going as well. And then on the Bills side, just James Cook continue. I just point out with James Cook, he got the 16 touches, which you love to see. And his rushing prop attempt, I said this on the live stream in the morning, was 12.5, and it was one of my favorite bets of the day when I saw it this morning, and he was able to hit that in the 4th quarter, which was a huge big win. So James Cook, I hate seeing Latavius Murray get carries. It annoys me every time. I want to keep seeing Cook get in there, but they even played Cook a little bit when the game was out of hand. But Bills getting their feet back under them, and a lot of people, who were, had Washington plus money in this game, and it doesn't feel so good.
I mean, Cook is getting the usage we were clamoring for all offseason. He's just not getting in the end zone.
I know. That's the Murray stuff.
Depending on your scoring, he's like a very high-end RB2 already, and that's without any touchdowns. So once those follow, which you would have, I mean, unless he's like this year's Miles Sanders from 2 years ago, you would have to imagine the touchdowns are going to come. And
in half PPR, he is RB12 coming into this week. He was already RB12 coming into this week. So add this in. He's going to be a top 15 back through 3 weeks of the season in half PPR. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tara Roberts, who loves James Cook.
Yes. Yeah, she does. In week 4, we actually have an awesome game. It's going to be the game of the week. Is going to be the Dolphins are heading to Buffalo to face these Bills. That's going to be a really fun one. And then Washington going to be in Philly. That one might be a little less fun. Football is back in full swing with another week of epic games. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. So get in on the NFL Week 4 action moving forward with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code FANTASYPROS to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code FANTASYPROS. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Let's move to Packers 18, Saints 17. This one looked like the Saints were running away with it. Obviously, we had the Derek Carr injury. And Jordan Love, who looked really bad early against a very good and a very consistent defense in New Orleans, led a comeback here. It's not that they scored a lot. It was only 18 points, but it was enough to win, Welsh.
Yeah, he looked okay, and it looked like it was going to be an absolute disaster, but he rushes, he gets a passing touchdown, which was good. A.J. Dillon, this is another one of those situations like Josh Kelly. We can only give you so many weeks to be like the guy and fail where we can have any trust moving forward. I don't see why you would trust him moving forward. It looked like Jones was almost able to go. He got a practice on Friday. I'm going to presume that he's going to be back next week, and